Morning. We are Richard and Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust, and it is far too early, but we are off to the Caravan, Camping and Motorhome Show at the NEC.
And hopefully today is the day that we will make the final decision on the van of our dreams. For those of you that are new to the channel, we've had our VW T6 Campervan Nelson for over 7 years now, and we have absolutely loved our travels in him. We have spent well over 800 nights. We have been on several European road trips and lots of weekends and road trips in the UK, and we just love getting away in a campervan. But it is time that we start looking to maybe have a slightly bigger van, maybe a slightly more luxurious van.
So we are early retired, and as such we've got so much more freedom. So we really need our next 10-year project, and this next van is going to be another 10-year project. And it makes us really nervous because it is such a big decision. But that decision is coming, and we've made a commitment that this year is the year that we finally make our choices. So what we want to do in this video is we are going to take you to the Camping, Caravan and Motorhome Show at the NEC. We are going to refine our shortlist, and then at the end of it, we are going to report back on what our decision making's been.
So with it being such a long drive down from the Yorkshire Dales to Birmingham, we had a bit of a stop off last night in Cheshire. Our daughter Georgia and her partner Molly have had the most beautiful, gorgeous little kitten. So we had a lovely evening with them, just playing with the new kitten Tato. She's called Potato Waffles. She was gorgeous. So we're set off now. We are on our third trip to the NEC. The first time we came last February, we didn't really know what we were after at all. We just came with an open mind. We looked at motorhomes, we looked at the 6-metre vans. We had a really good look around. From there, we did make a decision. Actually, we need to go for a 5-metre 40 van.
So on our second trip to the show, we were much more focused. We knew that we needed to look at 5-metre 40 vans for two reasons really. One, we've got a massive dry stone wall at home, and we realised that it would be just too much hassle to get a 6-metre van round the back of the house for parking every day. And then secondly, it's going to be our daily drive, so we wanted to be able to fit into a normal parking space. So we had a look at pretty much all the 5-metre 40 vans that had a fixed bed at the back and a large garage. And in our second visit, we sort of narrowed it down to 3 vans that we really, really loved. But unfortunately, there was still a couple of vans that we think that we might love that weren't at the show. So we were gutted then.
So we're now here at the NEC for hopefully the third and final time, and fingers crossed by the end of the day we will know exactly what we want, and we will be in a position that we could start thinking about putting deposits down or looking for second-hand vans if it's slightly out of our price range for a new van.
So what do we want out of this third visit? Well, first of all, we have to focus on just the 5.4 metre vans, but following our ski trip we're going to have a sort of slightly different tack.
Yes, we did meet a couple of travellers who had vans that have got a rear lounge, and whilst it's still probably something we don't think we want, it did open our eyes a little bit to how much space that gives you, particularly in winter living, when you can have all of the space in the back of the van as a lounge. But putting the bed up and down every day is not something that we wanted to do, and we need to have a really good look at how much storage space those vans would have, because last time we looked we kind of dismissed them because we thought there wasn't enough storage space for everything that we want to take with us.
And then one final thing we want to check over is the 5.4 metre vans with the fixed bed at the back and the garage. We are keeping our fingers crossed that there's a couple of vans there that we've had our eye on and we haven't been able to see sort of in the flesh. One of the things I've done previous to the show is go through their sort of like online search machine, and it's really good. It's thrown up some vans that we haven't seen before, so we are quite excited to have a look at them. But again, it's just fingers crossed that they're at the show.
I'm also really excited because both Robbie Romes and Martin Dorey are doing talks, and I really want to be able to catch them.
One of the things I need to do is to make sure that Jackie stays on it, unlike our last trip, because on our last trip, Jackie, I think it's fair to say, got maybe a little bit distracted and actually took, I think, about 11 images throughout the entire day. Jackie's responsible for stills today, so big responsibility.
I'll remember, don't you worry.
And linked with the footage thing, we just need to let you know that, as per usual with Early Retirement Wanderlust, we're not going to be speaking when we're in and around the show because it makes us feel a little bit weird, sort of talking around people.
Yeah, I just feel really self-conscious that I'm talking to a camera while people are wandering around being nosy what we're doing. So we'll talk when we get back to the cottage and do a bit of a sum up of what we found.
With all our lovely, lovely footage.
I won't forget. Wow, we've had the most amazing day. And first of all, it's been lovely to speak to lots of you subscribers that came to say hello. Just really, really lovely to speak to people that watch our channel.
Yeah, it makes us realise that there is real value in what we're doing. And we've just met so many lovely people who have an absolute shared passion for adventure, travel and campervanning. So yeah, wonderful day.
And early retirement.
Yeah, and lots of people talking about early retirement. And we sort of joked today that we didn't realise there was that many people out there that were really into the stuff that we're into. So yeah, thank you for that. But wow, what a long day.
We've really enjoyed watching both Martin Dorey and Robbie Rome's talk. Really like both of their books. We have bought Martin Dorey's book for our Spain and Portugal tour, so excited about that. And it was lovely to speak to Robbie Rome's.
So we've got the long drive home, and then what we're planning on doing is reviewing our footage somehow, and then we are going to sit down on the sofa tomorrow and go through our top 3 5 metre 40 vans that are in our final list, and we're really quite excited about it.
We are, but there is still one van that we need to go to a dealer to see because they still didn't have it this time.
But more of that tomorrow, so catch you later.
It was such a long day yesterday. We didn't actually get back to the Dales till well after 9 o'clock last night, but we've had a really good sleep and we've had a really good reflection on what we thought about the day yesterday.
And in terms of seeing loads of vans, wow.
There was quite a choice available. I don't think there was quite as many 5.4 metre vans as last time, and we did discount going and looking at any of the vans that were sort of priced in the high 80s and over £90,000 because we just can't afford it, so there was no point even having a look inside, I don't think.
And I think that's where we've got a little bit smarter, because on our first trip we just went to look at everything, and it's a real kid in a candy store experience, and it's lovely in that way, isn't it? But not when you're trying to narrow down your choices.
Yeah, so I think we have finally narrowed it down to maybe 3 vans that we would like to share with you that we really liked from yesterday. A couple of them actually we have shared before, but we still really like them.
But let's first of all tackle the elephant in the room, which is rear lounges and our thoughts on rear lounges.
So we did look at 2 or 3 different vans that have got a rear lounge. We had purposely gone to find one of the vans that's got quite a fancy-dancy drop-down bed that comes down over the rear lounge, but we didn't like the design of that one at all. I can't even remember the make of it. It just didn't seem that nice inside, so we didn't particularly have a look. But we did see a really nice Auto Trail van. It was the Auto Trail V-Line 540 SE that came in at a price of £70,425.
And when we went inside it, as Jackie said, it was a real pleasant surprise. For a 540 van, it felt so spacious. I would say almost cavernous. It was really light, it was really airy. They done the design really well, so it was definitely in our sort of colours and quite neutral, but just a sense of space throughout the van and being able to look from the front to the back and vice versa, it was quite incredible.
And something that we found actually almost quite amusing, most of the other vans that we've been looking at are European vans, so they have got the rear loungers and not a huge amount of kitchen space. This van almost had a full fitted kitchen, bigger than our little cottage. It had quite a big oven, it had a microwave oven and a 3-ring burner on the top.
The bathroom was pretty plain. It was pretty, to be honest, uninspiring, but it was functional, it was clean, it fit, it was quite large.
When we were looking around, I was curious where the gas was kept, but actually it's an LPG tank underneath, so that's got that out of the way, and it's got all the water tanks underneath as well, I think. We thought there would be more space underneath the bench seats. We thought that, you know, they're quite big, roomy boxes there, but actually they were filled with batteries and a few other bits of the electrical things that are needed in a van. There was some storage space, but there was very little. There was just one biggish cupboard at the front of the van and one under the sink, and that was it. There just isn't enough storage in there for us. We go on trips that are 6-7 weeks long. We take lots of sporting equipment with us. We take kayaks. We take lots of hiking gear, and there's just nowhere to store it. And one of the things that really annoys us in our VW when we go on these big trips is when we set off, the back of the van is just loaded up and we keep having to move all the stuff around every time we stop and we want to make the bed up. Well, that would be the same case in this.
Yeah, we know that we would be living in a bomb site because there was just not enough space to store our gear, and you know that is the game breaker for us. So yeah, we've checked it out. We love the living space in it, but it just wouldn't work for us. So our last objective of going to the NEC this year was primarily to narrow down our choices in 5.4 metre vans to 3 choices that we are going to then have to wrangle our way around. So we're not going to do it in any particular order, or we are going to do it in an order. We're going to do it in the order that we actually saw the vans because it just makes my editing easier. And literally, as soon as we went through the gate,
we were so excited because last time we went, we particularly wanted to go and see the Dreamer D43 up, and it wasn't there. But they did have one of the vans, and we really enjoyed having a good look around it. So I'm going to have to put my glasses on because I can't read my notes. The thing that really struck us with the D43 up, it's been slightly redesigned, I think, since we last saw it over a year ago. And it's just got such really clean, contemporary lines in it. It is almost very IKEA-like, isn't it? But it just feels really well made. And the cupboards were underlit with really nice lighting. There was lots of little nice touches on it.
So the first thing that sets the Dreamer off against the other 2 vans that we're looking at is that it's got a pop-top roof. And we didn't really know what to think about the pop-top roof because if it was anything like what we've got in Nelson, it's a little bit tight for space. We've never slept up in the pop-top in Nelson just because we don't particularly like it. Whereas the Dreamer pop-top, you go up this ladder and it is absolutely cavernous up there.
Yeah, the roof is much longer, I'm assuming, so it just feels like you've got more space. It has an air vent blowing into it from the heating system, so it would actually be a bit warmer up there in the winter months if we chose to sleep up there. It's got lots of vents in the pop-top canvas, and it had lighting systems up there. It just looked really, really cosy, and it had a proper quite thick foam mattress up there. It looked really, really comfortable, which would give us lots of space downstairs in the van. I mean, in an ideal world, if you could find a van that's got one of those pop-top roofs that are really, really comfortable to sleep in and a rear lounge downstairs that gives you the space downstairs, that would be a winner. But we haven't seen any vans like that.
So then downstairs there is a lateral bed at the rear, and I don't want you to think that we're likely to be falling out and having separate bedrooms or anything like that. We are just keeping fingers crossed that sometime in the next 10 years that grandkids may come along, so we might need that extra space. But we will give us the flexibility to either sleep upstairs or sleep downstairs. The fixed rear bed looks really snug. It's quite high, which is good for us because it gives us loads of garage space below. It has a little flip-up design as well, which means that you can put larger things in the boot when you're traveling and then just drop the bed down at the end. But that ability to just turn into your bed in a fixed bed without having to do anything is just going to be a game changer. And then the kitchen is just like really well designed. It's simple. It is predominantly a European kitchen. However,
it's one of the only 5.4 metre European vans that we've seen that has an oven. It's only a tiny oven, but actually the thought of being able to cook a pizza occasionally, and it's big enough to put in little things like some nice cheesy potato loveliness, or jacket potatoes. It does open up a few options to us, and we wouldn't have to be carrying an air fryer, which would be our other option, I suppose.
Yeah, and then moving into the front, naturally with a 5.4 metre van, the dinette space is going to feel a little bit tight, but we have checked that you can take the table out. And to be honest, as a couple, we'll probably use the captain seats and put our feet up on the sofa and probably work without the table most of the time. What we really liked about that front section, though, is even though it was quite tight for space, it was really light and airy, wasn't it?
Yes, it's got a really nice big panoramic window up in the roof, which let in so much light. I think that will make such a difference when we're travelling. I really like the mood lighting in the van. It's got really nice lights at the back, reading lights with USB ports in them for when we're in bed. But I really liked the feel of the lighting that was underneath the cupboards and the LED lights. We do know from experience in our VW campervan that if we are off-grid and we put too many lights on, it draws on the battery really, really quickly. So we know we wouldn't be able to use all of the lights when we are travelling off-grid. But in the winter, when we are skiing and it's really long, dark nights and we're on a campsite and we've got electric hookup, it would make it really cosy.
Which reminds me of another point, is that it's a diesel heater. So there's no need for 2 gas canisters in the back that you've got to run everything off. So bizarrely, the gas system, it runs the oven and it runs the hob, but it also runs the hot water heater. And we couldn't quite work out why there wasn't a diesel hot water heater in it. But the heating system within the van is diesel, so that would save a bit of fuel, so that's a good thing.
Something that really surprised me about the spec of the van, if you went for the very basic model, which would be the D43 Up Fun, it doesn't come with quite a lot of features that you would expect it to come with. Richard even noted that it says wiring for a radio, but not actually a radio in the front, which I was really surprised at. And I didn't really understand the technology until Richard explained it. The batteries are, what were they?
They're in the Fun, which is the lowest level, you get 1 lead acid battery. Now, bearing in mind, battery technology has moved from lead acid battery to AGM batteries to now quite a lot of manufacturers at stock are putting lithium batteries in. It just seemed like a really antiquated sort of piece of technology that they were putting in there. So I think one of the things that we learned was when you see the starting from price, particularly in motorhomes and campervans, you've got to take that with a pinch of salt, because it's almost like the steering wheel is an optional extra. You really do get very little. So we actually went through the configurator with one of the salespeople to try and see if we could get what we wanted at a cheaper price and get rid of things like the automatic gearbox and things like that we wouldn't necessarily want. And it really just opened our eyes to the fact that these bottom of the range vans are really probably under-equipped.
So the next van that we're going to mention, we have actually mentioned in our last 2 videos that we did from the NEC, but it's a van that we keep coming back to, and it catches our eye for the very reason that it's a really pretty, really good looking van, both outside and inside, and it has a really good price point, and that is the Joa van.
So yeah, the Joa Camp 54G. And contrast to what I was just saying about the sort of lower spec vans in the Dreamer range, it comes incredibly well spec'd up from a base level. So there are so many things that you just do not have to consider as optional extras. So it includes an awning, reversing cameras, a fly screen, it has a winterized waste tank, it has solar panels, it comes with a bike rack, it comes with alloy wheels, and it is an automatic as standard, and it is a really, really good van for the price point.
Again, it comes with a really clean lines of almost an IKEA style fittings inside, which we quite like. They just seem very modern, very clean lines, very light. So Joa is part of the Pilot group, and a lot of the features and design ideas that we saw in the Joa van we had seen in some of the more expensive 5m40 Pilot vans. So we felt it was just an incredibly good valued van.
One of the things that I wasn't particularly sure about was it had a drawer style fridge that was just by the sliding door. I think that we would be particularly rough and mishandle that, and it was just something from my perspective that was waiting to break. I don't know why. Why would we break that more than we would break a normal fridge door? But it just felt a little bit different to me.
Something I really liked, and it's probably just from an interior design point of view, they had dressed the van, so it had a duvet in it, and it showed you the potential of how lovely and cosy the van actually is, whereas a lot of the other vans that you look at, they're just as you would buy it and get it with the bare mattresses and things. It probably is psychological, and it's probably what maybe drew us to the van a little bit more. I don't know.
It's really clever. Why don't more manufacturers do it? It's a crazy situation. Something I liked, real fancy-dancy, high-tech touchscreen control of everything seemingly. So that's very different to what we're used to in our VW. And then the bathroom, it was really simplistic. It was a wet room design. There didn't seem to be any sort of evidence of shower curtains, which obviously I'm pleased about, but I'm not quite sure how you would keep the rest of the bathroom dry if you were having a shower in there. So practicalities, I just raised a few questions about that, but I did like the clean lines of it.
It had a nice big garage at the back. It had a locker that would keep 2 gas tanks in. I'm going to assume that means that maybe the heating was a gas heating system. So you would need to make sure you've definitely got the extra gas if you're going to be off grid. But it's a nice van.
The one thing that we're not doing though is comparing like with like, because it didn't have a pop top. So obviously it was cheaper than the Dreamer. We really liked the spec of it, and we liked the all-inclusive nature of the price, but obviously it would only sleep 2, and I think it might have had an occasional single bed at the front. So it didn't have the pop top capacity, and I think we all know that the pop top, if you add that as an extra to any van, is going to add quite a bit of cost onto the price. So our final van to make it into our top 3 from the show is the Rimor Horus 54, and it was the cheapest van that we saw out of the 3, and it came in a few pounds under £60,000.
It's not a van we've actually seen before at the show, so it was quite interesting to have a look around. It did catch our eye because the main panelling in the van was made from a really nice light plywood, almost wooden panelling, and it really caught our eye. But something I think let it down a little bit is the contrast of those beautiful clean laminate lines of the light wood was that the cupboards and drawers were fronted with like a dark brown laminate.
I think it was a really quite stylish, striking van. And
yeah, the upholstery was lovely inside it. It's probably, of all the vans we looked at, I preferred the upholstery in that one.
Yeah, and it included some really clever things that we haven't seen in other vans. I'm going to get straight onto the hooks. It had 2 massive hooks. Why don't other vans have hooks? You know, I know, obviously, with Rate My Shower, I am obsessed with hooks. But yeah, that was a winner for me. And the table?
Yes, it's the only van I've seen in all of the different shows where it just has a little hinge on it, so you can fold part of the table up so you can get into, because they are quite tightly spaced little dinettes, you can get into the dinette and either leave it up so you've got space to sit, or put it back down once you've squeezed yourself in, which I just thought was just a really clever little design feature.
Yeah, and it was a fixed bed, so it was pretty much like the format of the other 2 vans that we've looked at. It meant that it got a large garage underneath for storage, and it ticked lots of boxes for us.
I think the thing that, for me, that showed that it was a cheaper van than the rest of the vans was the shower room area. It did seem just a little bit more cheap.
I'm going to say shower curtains.
Yeah.
And it looked quite well designed as a bathroom until you realised you were going to have a shower in that small space, and there was going to have to be a shower curtain to protect all of that lovely laminate stuff that was lining the bathroom. And it was tight for space anyway, so combination of tight for space, shower and shower curtain, it is just my living hell. I can't get my head over it.
I'm just going to point out Rich has just got a phobia about shower curtains.
It's not right in any way.
Yes, I think it was quite a high-spec van for one of the cheapest vans that we saw at the show. And it did have, much to Richard's surprise, a nice surprise with the batteries.
Yeah, it was the only van that we looked at that stocked lithium batteries as standard. And that's going to be fantastic for weight saving. It's also going to be probably, from what I understand, really good for battery management because you can run them to absolutely flat and you're not having to worry too much about battery health. And it's a space saver as well as a weight saver. So yeah, winner, winner, chicken dinner.
It did have a free show pack if you bought one of the vans on show day, and that came with the lithium. It came with solar, reversing cameras and Apple Play in the front for the stereo. So yeah, good value van.
So those are our 3 favourite from the show, and we really did enjoy going round those vans, and they are very definitely in our top 3. But where to now?
Well, that's a really good question. We were really gutted. One of the vans that we wanted to see in October still wasn't there this time, and that's the Sunlight Cliff Adventure in the 5m40 size. We are going to have to find a showroom and go and have a look in the next week or two, because we're actually in a position where we will probably start thinking about ordering a van in the next month, which is really exciting. But we need to see that van to either love it or rule it out.
So we hope you've enjoyed our little review of the things that we went to see at the NEC. We certainly enjoyed our time at the show. What was really good was, as Jackie mentioned earlier on, seeing all the people that came up and said hello. That just made the day even better.
Yeah, it was lovely speaking to some of you. If you see us out and about, do come and say hello, because we do like chatting with people. We're quite shy, but if people do come and speak to us, actually it's a nice icebreaker and it's a nice way to get to know people.
But that's it from us. We will see you next week. See you later. Bye.
Bye.